Hello, it's your boy David, and welcome to another episode of the Free Play Mode Quick Hit for February 18th, 2015. And what I'm going to do is talk about the Order 1886 made by Ready at Dawn Studios, published by Sony Computer Entertainment. And in case you've been living under a rock for the past couple of days, there's been this huge blow up among the gamer sphere about how short this game is. Everybody's like, oh my god, it's so short. How could Sony do this? How could Sony release a game that's this short with no multiplayer aspect whatsoever? And as I said, in case you've been living under a rock, the game clocks in at roughly 5 hours and some change. And this is known due to a release of a Let's Play / walkthrough of the Order 1886 by someone who got their hands on a review copy and broke the embargo. I could easily make a video complaining about how short this game is and how irresponsible of Sony and Ready at Dawn to release a game at full price considering how short the game is, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is ask a simple question and propose a few trains of thought on that simple question. And the question is this game worth your money? And the reason why I asked this question is because of how the reaction is going towards this game. Before the walkthrough and the playthrough came out, there was all this fear about how short the game was, all these unconfirmed rumors about the game being only 4 hours, the game only being 5 hours, the game only being some short length of game time in terms of gameplay. And I'll have to say, judging by the video, because I did watch it, it seems more like a speed run than an actual walkthrough. So I'm gonna venture to say that during your first playthrough, the game will take on average 6.5 to 7 hours. And even though it'll take a little bit longer than what the playthrough did, 6.5 to 7 hours still is on the short side for your third person and first person shooters, because the average third person and first person shooter clocks in at a little between 9 hours to 12 hours long. Games like Halo, Gears of War, Spec Ops The Line, and any other third person and first person shooter out there. Those are your average, like even Resident Evil 4 and 5 clocked in at about 8.5 hours on your first playthrough. Resident Evil 6 was a little bit shorter because they had individual storylines, and those were about an hour and a half apiece, and you had 4 separate storylines, so that was a little bit on the short side too. But the Order 1886, let's get into it. Is it worth your money? And one camp is if you're a die-hard Sony fan and you've been waiting for this game for about a year and a half since it was announced at E3 in 2013, I believe. You were definitely going to get this game. It's more than likely already paid for or partially paid for, pre-ordered at your local video game store. You want the extras, blah blah blah. You don't care. You want everything Sony produces. It may be a bad game, it may be a short game, it may be a long game, maybe a boring game, maybe an exciting game, but Sony produced it, you want it, so you're gonna pay for it. And that's where a lot of these people who pre-ordered the game are at. This game is gonna sell millions and millions of copies. There's no denying that, due to the fact that this is a very highly anticipated game. It's been anticipated since it was first announced in 2013. So, the next camp is the cautious spender. Is it worth your money if you're a cautious spender? And what I mean by that is, are you the type of gamer that is weighing perceived value versus cost? And the cost of the game is $60. And the value at what you're getting is You're getting a game that's roughly 6.5 hours, 6.5 to 7 hours long. You're getting a game with no multiplayer at launch. I believe they're going to add multiplayer in at some point during the life cycle of the game, maybe within that first 2 or 3 months, because what game these days doesn't have a multiplayer aspect? Even if it's the most simplest indie game, it has a multiplayer aspect somewhere if it's a third person action game. So, is the game worth only a single player mode at launch? And the answer to that, if you're the value gamer, is no, it's not worth your $60 at launch. Maybe if it comes down to $50, $45, or $40 somewhere down the line, and they add multiplayer in it somewhere down the line, and they're more than likely going to add some single player DLC to beef up the single player content, yeah, it's going to be worth the money you spend on it eventually down the line. But at launch, no, it's not worth your money. And then you have the... what kind of gamer can I best describe this party as? It's not the value, but it's the gamer that is very optimistic of everything that comes out. They're optimistic about every potential big release. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter who makes the game, doesn't matter what console it's on, but they're spending their money on it. And for that gamer, I would say it's worth a rental, because even if you're not buying it, you get to see what the game is like. And if you can beat this game in 5.5 to 7 hours, it's definitely worth a rental, because once you play the single player aspect, unless there are multiple paths which weren't explored during the walkthrough that mostly everybody saw, it's not worth it. It's not worth spending your $60 on. And if you can, this is essentially a game for a lazy Saturday or Sunday afternoon that can be beaten while you're waiting for stuff to come on TV, or while you're killing time before you go out and do something Saturday night. It's that type of game, unfortunately, because it has no multiplayer aspect that you can do with your friends, co-op or competitively, a la Gears of War, a la Halo, a la Spec Ops The Line, and whatever other first person and third person shooter that you want to throw out there. Doesn't have that. So, in conclusion, I have to say that for a game that was in development for roughly a year and a half, 2 years, because I'm sure it was in development prior to E3, Sony and Ready at Dawn dropped the ball, because while the game does look amazing, if you're only going to make a game focused around a single player aspect, you have to have it be more than 5.5 hours to 7 hours of actual content and actual gameplay. You have to at least bring it up to snuff with the industry standard. You have to give people a reason to come back. You have to give them multiple paths. You have to give them multiple reasons to come back and playing. And right now, the Order 1886 simply does not do that. So let me know what you think of this video. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Like or dislike this video, and share it with your friends. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, please do so, because I appreciate you coming back and watching the videos. This is David from the Free Play Mode. Hoping you have a good day, and as always, peace. I'm out.